Happy Friday, folks. Thank God it's Friday. Although, I swear, Russ, every time it's Friday here the last few weeks, it's a rainy Friday. They have a thing for the AAA Buffalo Bisons called the Friday Night Bash. They should rename it the Friday Night Rainout because I think they've been rained out 3 Fridays in a row.
That's awful. That's awful.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? Okay, it looks like you're here from an undisclosed location since you're in Silhouette. Why don't you start with the pre-show?
I don't know what it is. I mean, it's like the sun. I have a light going here. Like it's just
that's better. There you go.
All right. I just I can't figure it out today. Here is the deal. So I am really getting tired of companies just making up products, and the latest of these making up products and really trying to ruin people's summers is dill pickle ice cream.
Ah, that's gross. I mean, I love dill pickle like potato chips, but dill pickle ice cream?
And they're custard format.
Oh, okay.
This isn't the show Chopped. Little Johnny's not going to go to the custard shop with you and say, I want that dill pickle ice cream, because Dad's going to look at him and say, what is wrong with you? You're not getting that. Get something else. I don't know why they're creating these flavors. Well, Peter, how would that float in Canada? Because I know people like their dill pickles. We all do.
You know what? There's always going to be that sub-cult niche that will jive on it, and the rest will just go, no.
Yeah, no, I went there. There's a smoothie place in the Buffalo area, and they have all different combinations of smoothies. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, I'm not one of these guys who's going to have a kale spinach smoothie. This green thing, it looks absolutely disgusting when it comes out. I can't do it. No. But what I have? Sorry, you walked right in.
Well, maybe let's dill pickle custard ice cream. Are you getting that on the boardwalk in Atlantic City or Ocean City, Margate?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it's gross. It's gross. What I have a problem with is like one of the things is like if you make something good, don't mess with success. And like I have I'm not gonna go as far as like the whole Arnold Palmer iced tea lemonade mix. That's fine. If you want to drink that, fine. I have no problem with it. Or I try it once, didn't particularly like it, but there are people out there that like it. But Canada Dry comes out with lemonade mixed with ginger ale. Sprite comes out with lemon lime soda. They're regular lemon lime soda mixed with lemonade. So it's limonade now. Would you please stop it?
And we know, and we've already proven on this show that it is no longer ginger ale. It's just a fake flavor. Like ginger is not even in any of these ginger ales. Right? They're all liars.
I mean, it's honestly.
Well, you laugh, but the problem is, you missed the ginger ale show. But basically, the quick synopsis is we all used to use it to cure our stomach issue.
Yeah, no, ginger ale was something you did.
And real ginger ale will do that. Fake won't do it.
Yeah, and my preferred pop, even though I'm a diabetic and I shouldn't drink pop, but my preferred pop is Coke. And it's one thing when you go Coke and Diet Coke, but now if you go to like certain establishments that have the Coke machine, it's every flavor of Coke: cherry, orange, vanilla, lime, lemon. I mean, would you please?
I think the cherry vanilla is pretty good. I have to say that.
Cherry Coke is my drink of so I don't drink. I don't drink alcohol at all. So I go to my wife does though plenty. She drinks for both of us. Yeah, she's a Cornell.
There's a reason for that, Eck.
She's a Cornell girl, so she can drink. When we go out. My funny thing to do always is if we're gonna go crazy, is I order a cherry Coke. That's like my crazy drink.
Yeah,
I do like cherry Coke, but not only once in a while, not all the time.
Now, this is my candidate for the most, I'd say, worthless job in the world, and then we'll start the show.
Okay.
I'm driving home today from morning coffee. And there is a local tax place in the Buffalo area that their mascot apparently is like a chicken.
Okay.
And I turn the corner, and it's after April 15th, folks. I know you can file late, but it's after April 15th. And some guy for like the last 3 weeks has been standing on a road in my town, waving at people with traffic, holding a sign and waving at people with traffic to come into the tax service. It's after April 15th.
Like, this is this guy's job. Are you going to deny this guy?
That is the most worthless job in the
Because
world.
this is this guy's job, and just because it's Mike's town, this guy can't do that.
Go wipe
I mean, I get it. I mean, it
wipe.
does bring up a really fun topic, which is the worst job you've ever had. Which is,
That would be a stock boy / cart chaser when I was 17 years old at Kmart.
I mean, Mike thinks he's like the sheriff of Deadwood. This is my town. You can't, it's like, come on.
The parking lot was a square mile, and they wanted you to pick up all the carts by 10 o'clock, and they'd send you out at 9:30. And I'm sorry, the entire Cheektowaga Central football team couldn't wrangle all the carts in half an hour.
I did try that job once when I was a kid. I did it for 2 hours, and it was like cold weather, and I was like, "This is ridiculous." I quit.
I quit after 2 days. My first 2 jobs, Zach, McDonald's 1 day, Kmart 2 days.
Intuitiveness, man.
The AMC theaters 10 years.
I'll give you one that I lasted at for 1 hour. There was a job, and I was a guy that worked out. I was in really good shape in high school, and I was working at a carpet outlet. And my job at the carpet outlet was to get the rolls and give them to the guys so they can cut them, right? I don't know if you've ever seen these carpet rolls, but they're like 12 feet high, and 600 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And so I went to lift one, and I was like, this is ridiculous. There's got to be a better way to do this. I said that to the owner. The owner's fighting with me. No, this is how you do it. I'm like, well, then I'm not doing it because I'm not breaking my back for what you're paying me for this job, right? So my dad comes and picks me up, and the owner's yelling at my dad like this kid sucks, right? And my dad goes, "You're such a big shot. You lift it." And the guy went to lift it, and I thought he was going to have a heart attack right on the spot. My dad just looked at him and said, "Yeah, that's what I thought. Goodbye."
Nice.
Nice.
How about you, Peter? Worst job?
Worst job. I actually was really lucky. I mostly, like, through high school and into university, I was really lucky with my jobs. But the worst one, which actually it was a good job, but it was just a disgusting job, was I worked in a salmon cannery. So you had these things, and the worst part of that job, I did a whole bunch of different things, but the worst part of it, the money was insane. For a guy in university, it was absolutely nutso money. But the worst job was this machine where you had all these salmon would come off the boats into this hopper. And this machine you would come down and you line them up and go into this metal conveyor belt, and it would chop the heads off. And then there'd be people and slice the stomachs and pull the row out. And then the things would fall in front of me, and you would send them on, you slide them down this thing, and they go around this machine, would take off all the fins. And then it would go down another conveyor belt. But they would be covered in all their grease and blood, and you wore coveralls and stuff. And eventually I got a face mask because you'd just be getting sprayed in salmon guts and pits and stuff.
So it looked like Mike Liute was working there.
But you were paid so much money to do this that you didn't care. You were just like, I was like the
I knew somebody went to Alaska to do that kind of thing for a while, and it was ridiculous. The money was crazy. It's you just do it for like a year and you just make enough money. You don't have to work for like 3 more years after that.
Was it Puck Gray's model?
What's that?
No, it's just
here's another thing. Like, again, if I was sick of a job, I was sick of it, right? So I was a paper boy, and a friend of mine from high school, his dad recently passed away, right? So I went to his house, we reminisced, and the mom goes, "Didn't you have a paper route with Michael's one of the sons?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Whatever happened with that?" I said, "Well, we tried to quit. So one day we just decided not to deliver at all. We threw all the papers out, and nobody complained. Not one person complained. Yeah. We thought for sure we're getting fired, and these people were the worst. Like when it came to collect, right? You had that little book you had to write.
I did this job. Russ.
Okay.
I did for many years.
Here was our system, Act. People were such deadbeats in my area that when the doorbell rang, the other person was standing out at the curb. So when the person from upstairs was peeking out the window, they were looking right at us. So this way they'd feel guilty and have to come pay. That was
I'll give you one. one more quickly, then we should start. I was as a second job because I worked in the movie theater through college. I worked at a gas station as not as an attendant where you'd fill gas, but just in taking the money for the gas, selling cigarettes, things like that.
You're the inside person.
I was the inside person, right? So this was near a major intersection in Cheektowaga, which I know it's Cheektowaga. How could there be a major intersection? But there was. And in the summer, some guy stopped in the middle of the intersection, stopped all traffic, and pulled out a shotgun and was threatening to off himself, and stopped all traffic at this major intersection. And I was literally like about maybe 200 yards away from this guy. The owner of the gas station calls me and says, should I leave? I just lock up and oh no, stay there, lock the door, and just hope that the guy doesn't run. If this guy had a shotgun, if he wanted to create the most damage, the thing he would have done is run toward the gas station, shoot at one of the pumps, and blow up the place. And this guy's he's worried about his Marlboro cigarettes and his candy bar. I left. I quit the job.
Well, I didn't get mine, and then we'll start here. Mine's a good one. So I, many temporary jobs, many cars, many different things that I did to get by, and paid my way through college, the whole 9 yards. So I basically signed up in a newspaper for, help install stereo systems in bars and stuff like that. I'm like, that sounds like fun. I could do that. I can do that kind of thing. There's no problem at all. So I show up. And, I'm sitting in a room in a warehouse, all these stereo speakers and stuff like that around. I'm like, this is pretty cool. And talking to the guys there. And they're like, and they're all like smoking pot and drunk. And they're like, oh, you gotta be high to do this job. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm not gonna do that, but that's cool. Whatever, I'm sitting there and then they hand around a script, like a script. And they like, read your part from the script. And my part was like, hey, what are you doing today? I got these extra speakers in the back of my truck here. I wanted to know if you were interested in buying them. The concept of this job was you would drive along in this truck along the road, wave someone over on the highway and say, hey, I got extra speakers in the back of my truck because I was supposed to install them somewhere. Would you want to buy them out? And they were like stolen things you were selling in your truck.
What is this, Goodfellas?
No, this is honestly, guys. So this is real. So the guys. So I read it a couple times. He's like, "Oh, you got to read it with more feeling." I'm like, and I'm like, I'm in this room of like these big guys. I can't be like, "Oh, this job sucks. I'm out of here." Right. So they said, "All right, well, we're gonna leave in 5 minutes. We're gonna go get a drink." I'm like, "All right, I gotta get something out of my car." Out to my car. Boom, drove away. Never heard from again.
The escape is the beautiful thing. It is.
Yeah.
So that's
People
so
go to my
funny.
Instagram. You could see I was in a TV commercial once. Go to my Instagram. Go click on the H. It's the Instagram TV. You'll have some fun.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
I always wanted to know who those guys were and where those speakers came. That was like a rite of passage through the 80s and 90s. Like it was crazy.
It was everywhere, right? It was all around North America.
Yeah,
crazy, and it was the strangest thing. And I'd heard of it, but I never really thought it really existed. And I was starting to put it all together in my head because I was like a high school kid, I was just a senior. Had just gotten my license. I'm like, oh God, this is horrendous.
When you said that you were reading a script, I thought you were one of the guys you were working with was Kevin Smith, and the script was like Mallrats or something.
Yeah, it sounds like a good setup for like I'm going to be in porn or something, But no, it's
God forbid.
Not the case. Not the case.
Okay.
Someone in the chat room said they bought those speakers.
Oh,
how were they?
They were probably good. They were just completely stolen. There was no. I mean, they didn't say they were stolen. They're like, of course they, but oh God, they're still doing that in 2009 in Toronto. I'm not surprised. All right, here we go. Ready? All right. What's today's date?
Friday the 3rd.
Got it. Hello, Hockey World. It's Friday, May 3rd, 2019.
I'm Michael Lagello, and I have some speakers right over here.
Yeah.
I'm Peter Tessier out in rainy Winnipeg.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
I am Eklund. And you're watching Hockey Buzz. No, yeah. I lost my train of thought completely. And I'm Eklund, and you're watching the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is
read the script.
Every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in the comings, goings in the hockey world. And today, we're going to start off with, got 2 more series tied at 2. We're going back to the best of 3 series, and I'm going to bring up an interesting thing today. It's going to blow your minds because I figured out how to fix the NHL playoffs. So this is my thing after we get into this, but after we talk about last night's games, but this was like, when we talk about why we think Boston could go, like Russ and I were talking about, that was last night. That was why Boston can go. Like Boston has the ability.
You do.
It was a really tough situation I mean, talking to people in that arena, that place is just nuts. That's a hard place to go in and play right now. And they scored, within a couple minutes of and they really turned the tide quickly. And the only goal they gave up was the goal that shouldn't have counted. So,
well, Boston did what they did in Game 4 against Columbus that they did in Game 4 and Game 6 against Toronto. It's like they took over early. They weathered a bit of a storm at a certain point in the game, and then they pulled away. I mean, they had the goal in the third period, but Columbus didn't seem like they really had a lot in their toolbox to sort of solve what Boston was doing. And, when you've got Bergeron and Marchand and Pasternak going at the level that they can go, and, other players kicking in, they're a tough team to beat. And that's why I have a lot of respect for the Bruins. I don't like some of their players because of the stuff that they do, but Pasternak is a great player. And Bergeron, I mean, they were talking about him on Hockey Central today about how he could be the best two-way forward in history. That might be the case. They always said Bob Gainey and Bergeron. I mean, my God, he's just, he rises to the occasion every time. He wins faceoffs. He kills penalties. He's on the power play.
I mean, to be fair, I think Mark Messier was better.
Maybe, but I have to say that Bergeron is just. I mean, of this era, I think he's the best.
Oh yeah, I agree.
This era, and right now he's the best. And there are some players like we talked about. Braden Points, I think, is going to challenge him eventually. But I think that Patrice Bergeron, what he does is so unique and so kind of like under the radar unless you watch him closely. Like Bergeron, you really have to watch him. I mean, you really have to watch him closely, or catch a game that he just takes over. Which is, he's not one to necessarily take over a game. Like, that's the difference between Messier and him, right? Like Messier would just absolutely dominate you.
But I'll say somebody under your own nose, Zach, that does exactly what you just said, and he's been doing it for a couple of years now. Sean Couturier.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree.
And they mentioned Barkov as well. And I would you put Scheifele in there, Peter? Because I think Scheifele's pretty good two-way.
No.
Okay.
No.
No, I mean,
that's honest and fair. I mean, people don't. And
Scheifele's a lot of things, and he's a great player, but his coverage in the defensive zone needs some work, and that might require a new coach. It might not. I don't know, but it does require something.
What's happening with Couturier is fascinating to watch. I mean, he is becoming. I mean, just. What sort of happened to him when he came into the league as came in right away. They kept him here right away as a young kid because his dad was a coach. He knew the game inside and out, and he came in as a defensive specialist. Checked Malkin for that was his thing for a while. Got his offense going. Always had an offensive upside, and has this incredible year. And now after that incredible year, his confidence is just sky high now. So he's got all these. And he's getting more space. Like players are backing off of him. So there's a whole thing that you see. Like Couturier is slowing the game around him. It's pretty amazing.
But that was the thing when he came out of junior. People thought he was going to be an offensive guy, and then he turned into this shutdown guy against.
Well, only because Laviolette forced him into that.
Yeah, he was going to be an explosive offensive guy.
Right.
But what he's become is more of like a controlled offensive guy.
Right.
You don't see like when you saw his highlights, his YouTube highlights back in the day when he was getting drafted and like that, there were a lot of breakaways, a lot of explosive.
Yeah. He's not that guy now.
He's not that player, but he's very controlled and impossible to get off the puck. Great at stealing the puck.
And he does take over games. He does.
He really does take over games. I think people are gonna recognize him a lot in this World Championships coming up, like more than people have seen him before, because the Flyers had such a weird year that I don't think people really recognized it.
The problem is anybody to be watching the World Championship.
If you're watching the World Championships, you'll see.
Yeah.
You're gonna see something pretty special there.
I did want to say something about Boston. Early on, I still felt like, boy, they're getting banged up, and they were. Like they won this game, they controlled this game, but they are still pretty banged up, and that's the one thing I worry about them. But the one thing that was apparent in this game was Marchand was mainly skating, and those guys were mainly skating. And when they're skating and playing right, they could play with anybody. But that was the thing. It's like they had to start doing that. Now, Are they doing that just because they're playing a road game? Are they gonna revert back to their other ways when they're at home? That'll be the interesting part here.
Right. It was funny because that's what we said leading into Game 4. They had to be the skill team. They couldn't go mano a mano. And honestly, I know that the critique after the game was Columbus really didn't step up as much physically as they thought. Well, maybe it's tougher when you're trying to catch the Bruins.
Yeah. That was not
early. They tried and it failed. That was the thing.
Yeah, they did, and there were moments, like I mean, obviously Boone Jenner gets that penalty shot, which is that's a big turning point in the game right there. Tied at 1, that thing could completely change. But the fact he doesn't tie it and then they score right after that to make it 2-0. There was a lot of little momentum swings and stuff like that. They got a good game out of Rask, but Roski was still really good. It wasn't his fault or anything like that. Yeah, you're right. I mean, they showed a lot. I mean, it makes you the kind of interesting thing about Boston, which kind of makes them hard to coach. I've always felt like they're hard to coach them from a coach's perspective. Is you see what they do at home when they try to match that line against people. That line is sometimes just better off just rolling them because. I mean, if your natural inclination and Bergeron match him against like a bad defensive line or the best offensive line on the other team, and a lot happen. I think sometimes they get totally confused, and then they're really sometimes you're matching lines, you're actually playing the other team's game, right? And that's what I think that when they just roll them out there, that line's so much more effective.
Well, I mean, in the Toronto series at the beginning, the Leafs tried to match Hyman, Tavares, and Marner, against that line, and it worked for a while.
Yeah,
that was the number one offensive line for the Leafs, and they were basically playing too much defense after a certain point, and it neutralized them to try to counter that line, and then they started scoring. So really, yeah, they can throw any team off, basically.
Right. I totally agree. All right, getting into the late game. I didn't see as much of this. I fell asleep. I have to admit, I was pretty beat up. Just tired from so many late games.
I fell asleep too. I admit it.
But it's pretty interesting. What we have going on there. I mean, obviously Colorado gets a big game out of Grubauer. I saw the highlights of it and saw through the first 2 periods. Mm-hmm. But I think that now having a best of 3 series over there, that's still anyone's ball game. I mean,
I'm still favoring San Jose in this series. I picked them. I'm not taking anything away from Colorado because I think they're a really good young team, and they have some star players. I mean, if you get a performance like that out of Grubauer more often than not, you're going to win the game. And I didn't think Martin Jones was overly bad. I think that San Jose. I saw most of the first period, then some of the second, and I mean. San Jose really had trouble generating any kind of offensive attack, which based on what they did in Game 3 was a little unusual. Now they still have home ice advantage, but Colorado won there early in the series in San Jose earlier in the series. So pretty much this could go 6 or 7. And I mean, I still think San Jose will win, but Colorado could win it.
It definitely could go 7. I mean, again, sorry, Peter. I was just gonna say it's hard to control McKinnon. Bottom line, it is.
Yeah, I think there's a chance this goes 7. I also think it could end in 6, and I think San Jose is starting to question some things. There are some mistakes being made, and I think they are not really understanding how to adjust to the fact that Colorado just simply doesn't give a crap about what you do. We are going to attack you every second we get the puck. Yeah. And I've watched this team over the years. They were like this last year. They're even better this year. They absolutely don't care. And when Nathan McKinnon has 6 feet to take 3 strides, he's gone. And there's no one on San Jose who can keep up with him. Their fastest guy, which is probably Evander Kane, maybe someone else, isn't even close to being able the skill set to cover him.
Well, there's no one in the league. I mean, really,
there's no one that could cover him.
Exactly. In the league, what defender in the league is as fast as Nathan McKinnon?
What San Jose doesn't have is the type of player who can get in McKinnon's head and get him doing something else. They need like a circa 2011 Dave Bolland or someone who will just do all those dumb things. And I'm not saying you go and build a team.
About that is Nathan.
someone to do that.
No, you know who could do that, but I mean the problem is you have to be concerned about his impulse control is Evander Kane, because Evander Kane can be an annoying pain in the butt.
But Evander Kane, that's yes, but in not the right way.
No,
right? Like they need someone to step up and say, I've got to change my role when Nathan McKinnon's on the ice and do some things. Do a little psychological warfare on him in certain ways.
Here's the thing about Nathan McKinnon, though, that's a little different. I mean, that and you know, and this was one of my favorite things about the World Cup of Hockey when you saw all these under 23-year-old guys playing together. You realize what Nathan McKinnon really was on that team, and what he tends to be is he's a physical player. Nathan McKinnon, he wants to play physically. He doesn't mind, you know, scrapping. He's not like these other guys. Like he's not like McDavid. You know, he's got McDavid's-ish speed, but he's not like McDavid in terms of the fact that I think he would love someone engaging him. Like I think he's the kind of player who would probably get even better. You know,
I thought yesterday was the first game that we really noticed the absence of Pavelski, and I don't know how close. I mean, there's been some indications where, you know, he might be back in the series. He may not be back in the series. But yesterday, I mean, you've got guys like Michael Haley and Rattle playing like 10 minutes, 8 minutes. I mean, Michael Haley, you know, is barely an NHLer. I think they just have him out there to stir the pot. And, you know, if you want him to take a run at somebody, fine. But I don't know if he belongs on a playoff roster. They really need the skill of Pavelski being on the top six to, I think, be some more offense.
They're getting an unbelievable showing out of Nyquist. I mean, it's just like he really is like. I mean, of all the trade deadline guys, you know,
he's under the He was an under the radar guy, and he's been really good for them.
Yeah. He's been really good. I mean, and he's you know, he and Couture are just a fantastic combination.
Yep. And I have both of them in my hockey pool.
Yeah, you're lucky. That's good.
Russ, you have breaking news?
I do. So the other day I had gotten, you know, word from Russia that Sheshyorkin was going to come over in June, and Kravtsov already had come over. And I guess Sheshyorkin decided to come a little early, and so the Rangers signed both. So in this week, they've signed Adam Fox, Kravtsov, and Sheshyorkin. They're starting to build their team.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I found it very interesting because I had never seen this before. Maybe I just, you know, I was less observant back in the day. But the KHL Twitter feed basically sent out a tweet about announcing that Kravtsov was leaving and said, I think the phrase was "take care of our guy" or "take care of our kid" or something like that. And I'm like, okay, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I mean,
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, we know that the KHL.
I wouldn't say that about an American player, but I get it.
Right, but usually, like with guys like Kaprizov, you know, they want to keep these guys. So it's like, I mean,
you know, it's interesting. I mean, it probably just comes down to who's running their Twitter feed, right? And
it probably does.
It probably, you know, they probably changed their. You know, it's amazing, like the amount of power that the people running Twitter feeds seem to have, you know, like, and really when you actually go research who they are, often it's really funny. Like, you know, like some of the Twitter feeds of some of these teams,
or it was a friendly Russian bot.
Yeah.
Or some 20-something-year-old guy who used to sell carpets or sell speakers out of the back of the truck.
Never know.
But at the end of the day, the Rangers haven't done anything in free agency. However, they add Adam Fox, so they've helped their blue line. They get Sheshyorkin in there. It depends what they do with Georgiev, and if Sheshyorkin will play in the AHL. We'll see how all that works out. Maybe Sheshyorkin will start in the AHL this year. If they do that, they're starting to solidify their goaltending behind Henrik Lundqvist. And now Kravtsov, they're adding a top six forward to their lineup, and none of this is costing them a lot of money.
And they're going to be big players in free agency too.
Yeah. I mean, I think the one other thing I want to talk about today, and I do have a really good idea, but I kind of want to put it off because I want more time with it, and I do think we really would be remiss if we didn't talk about what's happening in the women's game right now too, because that's honestly is a big story right now.
Yes,
and the women, you know, the women's, obviously the Canadian Women's Hockey League folds, the U.S. The women's hockey
WHL,
right? The players in that league walk out yesterday.
No.
I mean, no, that's not. Go ahead,
No,
explain.
it basically there were indications that the NWHL was going to expand into Canada.
Right.
And the CWA, the players who played in the CWHL, I think it was around 200 of them, came out and basically said, we're not gonna play professional hockey this year, hoping that it kills off the NWHL, because they think the only hope for them to have an organized women's hockey league is through the NHL, similar, a sponsorship type of agreement like the WNBA has with the NBA, that they would actually be able to get paid and get health insurance and things of that nature. But the stuff that I heard, Brian Burke was excellent on Sportsnet yesterday, talking about it on Primetime Sports on one of their shows, and he was basically saying, I mean, yeah, they hope that the NWHL dies so they can get this one ship going in one direction. But the problem is the NWHL doesn't want to die. They want to keep going, and they're going to keep going. And nobody knows whether they can keep. If they do keep going, then this dream of an NHL sponsored women's league is just that, a dream.
Well,
this is a complicated issue.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things you sort of have to step back on is ask some questions around this. Do you, like, the fundamental question here is do you believe that women's hockey can lead to the growth of the sport? And do you see a future in women's hockey as part of growing the sport of and those questions need to be answered first. I think the NHL has taken a rather cowardice approach to this. Mm-hmm. I think they need to be forefront. If they're investing in the growth of hockey, the growth of hockey is simply the growth of hockey. And right now in Canada, the largest growing market of hockey is female.
But the problem is
in America, that's the same. I mean, it's incredible. Like, there's a local rink near here, and there's a hotel not too far from here where I drive by that hotel all the time, and it is packed with girls teams coming in to play tournaments. It's incredible. Like it's just phenomenal.
But Burke talked about this, and the problem is, Peter, is the NHL and people who were running both leagues met, and I don't know when this was, but it was recently. Burke was in the meeting with Gary Bettman, and essentially what they said was that they were not interested in investing in a league that had litigation problems. The NWHL apparently has some litigation problems. I don't know if it's whether it's with investors or with the other league or whatever, but the NHL doesn't want to get involved in something that they're going to be dragged into. They want something that's going to be easy, that's going to be, they're going to control the narrative. And the thing is that almost everybody agrees to is that the business model here doesn't work.
Hold on. I don't think
Mike, that's a cowardice approach.
Yeah.
That's a cowardice approach, and it's one that basically says exactly. The short say is one that basically says, "Well, I don't want to help you with your mess." But again, I go back to the first question: if you believe in the growth of hockey,
right,
then you get in the mess and you help solve it. The NHL has more legal expertise and expertise and access to legal opinions and help than anyone is in the hockey world.
Yeah, it's more than what they're saying, Peter. I've covered some of their league events. I covered their first championship. I was at the outdoor game when the NHL let the NWHL have their own outdoor game in Gillette Stadium. That was a big deal, right? So they opened the door for that. Then they didn't invest $50,000 this year, which we all say is nothing, but whatever. They did invest.
Post-it note.
But here's the thing. If they don't want to, they don't have to.
Sure.
It's not incumbent upon them to do it. The NWHL is going to survive without these female players. As an example, I just saw that Shannon Sabatos was the #1 jersey sale for the NWHL this year. She's the best female goalie in the world.
Yeah.
So while this looks great that some of these players are grouping together and they're going to sort of block the league from Canada, and they might, it doesn't mean the NWHL is folding. I mean, they've been operating.
I don't think it has to.
All of this.
I mean, watching the interviews and hearing people talk, like, Cassie Campbell used to write for Hockey Buzz. I know her a little bit. She's she's a great person, and just listening to her talk, and trying to read between the lines a little bit. It doesn't have to fold. I mean, part of what they did yesterday is.
Well, it doesn't.
In what they did yesterday, like it doesn't have to go. This is not like a an all or nothing type situation, really.
No, but it doesn't.
And they're incorrect. That's
that's how they're playing it right now.
It doesn't have to fold, Act, but from what I understood from listening to a lot of viewpoints and reading something yesterday, they don't like the leadership of the NWHL. They don't like the structure where the NWHL is paying players $2,000 for a 16-game season.
Slave labor.
Right, exactly.
These people would rather be free in their graves than living as a puppet or a slave.
Exactly.
I quote Jimmy Cliff, and God bless them for taking the stand. The fact that they're getting paid $2,000 a month or whatever it is.
Oh, for the year.
For the year, to put their body in harm's way with no health insurance, no anything.
Right.
You wouldn't even let your kid go to work in a job like that.
Right.
This is the point. This is so much bigger.
CWHL wasn't even paying.
I know. I'm not saying one's worse than the other. The point is that there is a talent pool of great women hockey players. There is a growing demand in the sport for women's sport. For women hockey players. It's the largest growth category in Canada in hockey of participation in youth. Foster it, nurture it, grow it. Why are you throwing millions of dollars to grow the game in China when you could be growing it in your back door or in your backyard?
Because China is paying for Peter.
Well, that's true.
So they can develop a team for their Olympic Games in 2022. That's the only reason that happened.
Let me give some real numbers. Hold on. Let me give some real numbers. So, as an example, at their All-Star game, which was in Nashville this year, they had 6,200 people.
Okay.
That's a pretty good crowd.
That is.
They had 1 million viewers online for that All-Star game. 1 million. That's real. On their Twitter feed this year, they had 4.2 million impressions. That's pretty good. Yeah. It's still not putting great attendance in the crowd. Like the Buffalo Beauts are averaging 1,200 a game. But you know what? That's not bad either. And Buffalo is a pretty good hockey town. But here's the one that I think should tell you that this league is not going under. Here's their top jersey sales and jersey sales. So Shannon Zabatos was number 1. Amanda Kessel was number 2. Amelia Falter was number 3. Audra Richards number 4. Lee Stecklin number 5. Blake Bolden, who's another big name, 6. And Kendall Coyne Schofield 7. So they're selling merch too. I mean, I'm just telling you, everybody has counted this league as dead, and they're not dying.
It's not about them dead. It's about making it sustainable for the athletes.
Right.
Like the league may be functioning, but the athletes aren't.
Right.
Like that's
I'm not discounting that, but at least they do pay. This is my big thing.
Yeah.
Everybody, and this is where I think the CWHL got it wrong. They always said, we're going to pay you. We're going to pay you. It's getting there. It's doing it. And at the end of the day, they at least raised some money so they could pay something to the players.
Right.
But that was the difference between the two leagues, and that's why the NWHL got players, because they paid something.
Yeah.
And so they have to get credit for that. Now, should it be better than that? Sure. But they could only pay as much as they're growing, right? I mean, you can't pay – if you pay the players more than the sport, then you're the WHA, and that's just stupid.
Well, I think a lot of that – this is
or the USFL.
Right.
No, I think this is a really tough spot, and everybody is saying things that make sense here. This is not economically feasible right now. That doesn't have to matter though, because you're dealing with the NHL, who does long-term things all the time that aren't economically feasible right now. And
that was the thing that Burke said. Burke basically said that if the NHL was heavily involved like they're not right now, I think it's just right now it's sort of lip service that they're doing. There would be, apparently they provide like to USA Hockey and Hockey Canada millions of dollars every year because they're a feeder system to the NHL. It's beneficial for them. In this instance, it would be a couple. They said at least there'd be a couple $1 million that would go to women's hockey. But you're talking if you're going to pay, and he used this example, if you're going to pay each player $20,000, and it's a team of 15 players, that's $300,000. You're talking about $500,000. If they invest a couple $1,000,000, that pays what, 4 teams? You have to invest more than just that.
You look at it this way from another business point. You get some investment like that from the organizations that matter. Now, what can you do with a little support from the NHL to take it corporately, to build momentum that way? It gives momentum, and it allows companies to come in. Then you go, or even the NHL could say, we'll partner with you, and we won't maybe change a whole ton of money, but we're going to share our resources with you. So you can piggyback on us with this, whether it be website stuff, whether it be marketing initiatives. We're going to get you in touch with the sponsors we know. If anyone is naive enough to think that without some support, that there are companies out there that wouldn't want to take advantage of a female run and operated program to benefit the power of women's products and women and marketing for women and the strength of women in this day and age, they should go stick your head in a pond, because that's where you deserve to live.
Off the top of my head, Peter, I can think of sports apparel places, other
not just that, but I mean, like I said, all these girls are playing hockey, right? All these girls are playing hockey. They're all buying hockey equipment, so that's out there. I mean, it's reality of it.
I can't. There's some things I can't discuss on air because it talks about something else. But I could write a massive blog on this about where opportunity is missed, because I see it. My niece plays hockey. I know so many girls who play hockey in Canada. They are the biggest drivers of the sport in terms of access to stuff, and they do crazy fun things, and no one's tapping into it. Embarrassing.
And this is what's really interesting about that. And you're right. And I'm sure there is some legal issues going on because every league, every organization like that has legal stuff. Someone's suing them somewhere. Something's happening, right? That's a given. I mean, to the point where the women's soccer league that folded a few years ago in the U.S. folded because of a legal issue. It had to shut its doors for 2 years, and it's going to be starting up again. But it had to, because legally it couldn't afford to stay open for 2 years while it fought one guy who was suing about one thing. Because there wasn't that much, and that destroyed so many dreams, so many lives. It's unbelievable to me. The NHL can take care of those legal things. You're right, Peter. They have that's like a drop in the hat. The NHL gets sued 20 times a week, for crying out loud. But what I wonder is this: when your kid joins in hockey in the U.S., I'm sure it's like this in Canada too. You pay your fee to play hockey, of course, and then you also pay a fee to USA Hockey, which every youth hockey player, every parent is paying into, and that's where USA Hockey is getting their money, right? That's how they get their money to actually, and the women are paying the same fees that the boys are paying, and that's why last year when the whole thing was coming up before, about women getting underpaid, I was like, you're damn straight there. I mean, because the money going in USA Hockey is coming from as many girls as it is boys.
Right, two things. The elephant in the room here, if you really want to get into it, are two things. There's maybe 3 or 4 franchises that have really helped the women's league. The Devils, they hosted the first Isabel Cup. Mm-hmm. The Sabres have definitely done a lot with the Buttes. But most of these organizations have done nothing. Mm-hmm. They could give them their buildings for rent-free and work out a deal with them.
Amen, Russ.
Yeah.
They wanted to, but they don't want to.
You know why that is? Because most of the people working at these hockey teams, Russ, and you and I know this, are men. It's overwhelmingly men. I mean,
apparently Minnesota, Boston, and Toronto were other NHL teams that helped out their teams as well. But I honestly, if it is chauvinism, if that is what's driving like the movement to not help them, then get out of these organizations, because this is the future.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's part of it, and I don't see any reason why part of our ticket sales can't go towards promoting part of our NHL ticket sales can't go towards promoting a women's hockey.
Well, you know why? Because a lot of NHL teams are in financial straits right now that they don't really want to admit. So every dollar counts. But
I'm sure dollar counts. But this could be like an overall NHL revenue thing. There's ways of, Peter, go ahead.
Still, look,
in the last 5 years, you've just managed to secure $1.05 billion in expansion fees.
Yeah.
If you took the 0.5 of that,
and
just earmarked it to women's hockey,
you'd be set.
Sure,
You'd be
but they're not gonna-
you know, you know what, but you know what that's only 50 million. That's like 1.25 million a team that you're giving up on this as a 10-year initiative. You trickle it out and stuff. And you all get to brand with it, adopt a team. You've got to have creative marketing and creative vision in this. And if you only look internally for where you are going to grow and how you can do things, you're missing all the opportunities.
Yeah.
And it's got to change. It's a mindset that has to change.
Okay, Peter, here's the thing though. So when Kendall Coyne was in the All-Star game, and it was pretty clear she was as fast as a lot of the guys there, what happens if she wins that event?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something
you
NHL wants?
Yeah, you give her the money and
No. See,
Definitely give it
I don't know. See, this is a complicated thing, Peter. And again, like they had 1 million viewers online for their All-Star game. Did the NHL All-Star game have 1 million viewers? Maybe, maybe not. What if the women's game had 3 million viewers when the NHL takes them over, and that was more than that they had? Like I'm saying,
if you notice, Russ, Kendall Coyne,
these are issues.
what uniform did Kendall Coyne wear when she was in San Jose?
I don't remember.
USA jersey.
She wore a Team USA jersey.
Right.
All right, so that tells you where the NHL has the relationship with USA Hockey.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, if she's wearing the jersey of the team she plays with in professionally, that would have been a great thing. Yeah. Like, I mean, the USA Hockey is not any problem with money.
That's only a problem if you don't know how to capitalize on it. And if no one in the NHL can figure out how to capitalize on her amazingness as a hockey player and an athlete, then they shouldn't be in sports at all.
That's my point. They invited her there. I think they thought it would be a really cool thing. I don't know if they realized what the impact was. The impact was massive. You know who benefited? Adidas, because Adidas signed her right up. Yeah, they were the smart ones. NBC was smart. They put her on the air.
And you know why Adidas did it?
She's pretty good too, actually.
Yeah. You know why Adidas did it? Because Adidas is already so invested in all the women's soccer in Europe.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
They already see it. Like they already know it's there.
The money they make from women.
But tell me what the NHL did to take advantage of that moment.
Nothing. And I agree with you. We're totally.
But I'll say how that happened, Russ. And I would. This is partially speculative and partially stuff that I can't really say, but I'll sort of hang the line here. When she gets invited to that game, part of that is because, and you guys know, when we deal with the NHL, you and I deal with the NHL directly, Russ, and we're like getting credentials for people and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. There are many more proportionately women working at the NHL than are working at NHL teams. I mean, you have a lot more women working at the NHL than working at teams, and I have a feeling, that her getting invited there had something to do with one of those women working at the NHL, mm-hmm. And I can almost.
I actually think it had more to do with everybody knows that the spectacle event at the 2018 Olympics in Korea was not the Olympic hockey men; it was the Olympic hockey women, and that's the reason why. Yeah.
It still is, and the women, the Canadian and U.S. team, when they play each other, they draw great numbers. They can play each other every weekend and do pretty well on a tour. Like just like the Canadian and women's and American women's soccer teams can do the same thing. They can tour around and make good money playing each other too.
Yeah, so here's an idea. Yeah. I'll give a free idea to the NHL. When you have the World Cup of Hockey, the next one, make it men's and women.
Yeah. That's a great idea, and let that women's money that's raised in that go towards the women's league.
Right? Will they do that? Probably not.
Interesting. They might.
No.
Russ, worth bringing up. I'll bring it up to people. You bring it up to people. But it's worth bringing up. It makes a ton of sense.
Yeah,
a ton of sense. I mean, it really does. All right, it's 2:00. We got to get out of here, guys. But this was a great discussion. Thanks for hanging out. I noticed, that a lot of people in our chat room just stopped talking when we started talking about women's hockey, and I know that it's different to talk about it for sure. And I know, and poor Thomas is in here just texting. He's a nervous wreck. I understand. And yeah, tonight, we had this discussion yesterday. We talked a little bit about, we discuss this sometimes in our own chat rooms about the Islanders and Tavares, things like that. They're still alive, by the way, and they're still going, and they will win tonight.
Did they say who the goalie is?
I don't know, but I'm guaranteeing an Islanders victory tonight.
The speculation is that Eck has won out, that it is Thomas Greiss that is going to start
And I
tonight.
further guarantee my victory tonight.
What if he gives up 5 goals? Heck, if he gives up 5 goals, what are you going to do?
I'm going to sit here tomorrow and say I was wrong.
All right.
Well, Monday.
Or Monday. Yeah,
Monday.
By Monday, you would have forgotten about it. So, but I'll sit here tomorrow. At 2 o'clock tomorrow, I'll sit here even though no one's watching and the computer's not on, and I will say I was wrong.
Right. Your daughter will hear you.
Myself.
And your son. Yeah, great.
No, I don't. I'm glad they're going with Greiss. They should have gone with Greiss in Game 3. So I'm glad they're going with him now. Series is not over at all.
As long as he scores 5 goals, that'll be great.
They have to score. They only got 3 goals in 3 games. They got to score. Remember, guys, without the buzz, it is just hockey. Enjoy the weekend. By the end of this weekend, man, we will really know a lot. We'll talk to you soon. We'll be looking forward to game 6s and 7s and all kinds of things.